I'd like to welcome you to today's show on a Thanksgiving project. You know, Thanksgiving is one of my most important times of the year when you get to sit around all day and just eat food and watch football. But I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce you to a good friend of mine now, Pastor Mike, and he's going to tell you a little bit about himself and his ministry.
Thanks for having me today. I'm Mike Bowser, and I have the privilege of serving as the pastor here at Walk Chalk Salem Baptist Church. I have been here for 5 years now.
Wow.
And the folks have been absolutely wonderful. It's been a true blessing.
Now, you said Walk Chalk?
Yes.
Where's that at, or where's that nearest so our audience knows?
Walk Chalk is a little town just outside of Kittanning, Pennsylvania, which is pretty small in and of itself.
Right.
About an hour north of Pittsburgh.
Okay. Now, so how did you become the pastor here? How did that all happen, and how long ago? When did that start?
So since I was in my early 20s, I have served just filling in when pastors were on vacation, just filling the pulpit. And had been in this church several times over the years in that capacity. 5 years ago, their pastor retired, and so they asked me if I would come and just serve as an interim pastor until they found someone. Mm-hmm. And then after about 9 months of that, they asked me to stick around.
That's pretty neat. Now, were they doing some of these projects that you do now back then?
The Thanksgiving Meal Project, no, they were not doing.
Okay.
So this was something that originated in that first year.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did that come about? What would make you want to feed your community, or how did that?
Well, I grew up in the Salvation Army Church, and so I learned at an early age of the importance of meeting needs. You know, William Booth said it's hard to share the gospel with somebody whose stomach is growling. Mm-hmm. And so I always had a passion for that. And so in that first year, I asked the folks if they would be willing to participate in something like that, and that's how it all started. Mm-hmm.
So give us an example, like in that first year that you guys started or whatever, how many people did you feed that year?
So we rented a hall, we prepared a meal for, we really didn't know what to expect. Mm-hmm. So we prepared for about 50 people, and we had about a dozen.
Wow.
So we had this food left, and so we started to make some calls and to see if people needed it, and suddenly we realized that what we really needed to do was to deliver the meals, and so then it has just taken off since then.
Mm-hmm. So give us an example. If you started with less than 50, yes, like how many people did you feed last year?
So last year we fed 575 people.
Wow.
It's a lot of fun to package and deliver that many meals mm-hmm. in one day. And this year we're preparing for 700.
Wow. Now that's a project.
It is.
I mean, that's a lot of people. Now you guys deliver.
We do.
So the logistics of that has to really be something.
Yeah, it is quite the process. Mm-hmm. We've got a lot of folks that come and volunteer, obviously in the kitchen preparing the food, and then we package each meal up individually, and then we just have a line of people out there waiting to take and deliver the meals so that they're delivered hot.
Right. Now, when do you serve these meals? Is it before Thanksgiving or right on the day? Because our audience might be wanting to support you or be a part of it. When do you do it?
So the meals are delivered on Thanksgiving Day.
Okay, all on that same day?
Yep. We start delivering at 11 a.m. and deliver until everybody has their meal.
Wow, 700 meals.
That's what we're expecting this
mm-hmm.
year, yes.
Okay, so because I was in the food ministry for about 21 years now, so you're talking my language, so I know the challenge that is.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. In order to feed 700 people, how many volunteers do you really have that's actively helping you do that?
So last year we had roughly 25 people working in the packaging end of things. Mm-hmm. And then we probably had another 20 cars that were running deliveries.
Wow.
And so, as soon as we pack one, we're ready for the next car. They go, they deliver their meal. They come back and they get in the back of the line, and we just have a constant line of cars coming and going. You know, some of the senior housing, you know, where we can take, you know, 40 or 50 meals at a time, then that really speeds it along a little bit.
So as far as food quality and controlling that, how do the people know that might, because there might be a lot of viewers that know where you are now or may want to participate in the program. How do they know it's good quality food and it's clean and all that? People are always concerned about that.
Well, I would joke and say, well, Baptists know food.
Right, that's for sure, yeah.
But no, everything is, you know, we have all the state inspections and everything, so everything is up to code and ready to go. We take great care with the meals because when we're all said and done, we sit and we share the same meal.
So the progression has been basically, so our people understand, you were expecting 50 at the beginning, you had way less than that. Now you're about 5 years later.
Yes.
Now, if there's anybody else that wants to participate in this program, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you? Or do you have a website or phone numbers or what?
So we do have a website. It's walkchalkchurch.com, and our information is there. And they're certainly free to call me as well. If they would like to donate or if they'd like to volunteer. You know, we have volunteers from all over that come and help deliver. Last year we had a couple that was home from Florida visiting family, and they spent their Thanksgiving afternoon delivering meals.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, so we'll have all your information on the bottom part of our screen also. Matt will take care of that. But do you have any good testimonies of families that were really in need for food, or any families that really, you know, you hear these families that maybe didn't have food and your ministry really touched them? Or,
you know, there are so many. There was a couple of folks last year that they couldn't remember when their last hot meal was.
See, people don't even understand that.
They do not.
Yeah.
You know,
locally, people think everybody has food and they're all taken care of until you really get there helping them.
Absolutely. You know, and so the drivers really, you know, they come back, you know, with tears running down, you know, their faces from the experiences that they have. You know, you know, a lot of people who, you know, widows and widowers are first time navigating that, you know, and wouldn't have a meal, you know, otherwise.
Wow.
And you know, so it's, you know, the interesting thing is that it is not just about people that are in financial need, though certainly we meet those needs as well, but people who are just alone. You know, a Thanksgiving meal, you can't really make it for one people or for one person, and sometimes even two people with stuff. And so it really does make a difference in people's lives. The phone calls that I get from people requesting the meals, you know, it's humbling. It really is humbling. The people that deliver the meals, it's very impactful. You know, I mean, it changes their perspective once they participate in this.
Yeah, because I know I always would think about the Lord said, where in Matthew 25, he said, I was hungry and you didn't feed me. And, you know, and they said, well, Lord, when did we do this?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, and when we always talk about the one person. If we fed 574 people who didn't really need the meal, but we fed the one person that did, it was worth all the work.
Amen. I mean, it really touches me because that's a part of my heart and our heart in this ministry, with really feeding people and being a part of our community. And so is there any examples you could give us? I know it has to be in your heart to be able to want to serve your community, because I'm hearing how much you're a community outreach. So
we're called to be the hands and feet of Christ. And you know, if we can't feed someone who needs fed, then we don't have the right to minister. You know, I mean, if we can't take care of the people that need, then what are we doing? Well, you know, what are we about? You know, and so that's always been, you know, just part of the part of my relationship with Christ, I guess, is that He's always made me aware of the importance of the individual. You know?
Amen. That's good, Mike.
And so that really drives me, and then the Lord was gracious enough to put me in with this group of people who have a heart that just never ceases to amaze me, and their willingness to dive in and to work and to make this stuff happen. I can have all the ideas in the world, but you know, if they don't do the hard work, it doesn't happen.
Right. The implementation is the key, you know.
Absolutely.
A good idea is nothing beside a good idea until you got the people that's willing to implement it with you.
Well, I mean, so this year we're talking, you know, we have just shy of a half a ton of turkey, you know, so when you start.
A half a ton?
Yeah. So, you know, when you start talking about those numbers, you better have a lot of people that are willing to pitch in and help.
No, okay, so there's a figure, a half a ton. People can't even think of that, you know what I mean? Do they cook that here in this church?
So the whole process starts actually in July, and we go out and we get the turkeys, and people adopt turkeys. We have Adopt a Turkey Day.
There you go.
And they take turkeys home and they keep them in the freezer because we don't have freezer space for them.
Right.
And then many of those folks will prepare them and bring them back on that day. And then we've got roasters in every outlet in this church. Our youth pastor lives in the parsonage next door. We've got him in his house. We've got him in the pavilion. There are roasters everywhere. Yeah, it's a lot of food, but you know, what an experience.
Now see, it's just like that. I'm thinking about how does he put all this together? I mean, that's how you do it. But we always say at Crossing Paths, teamwork makes our dreams work, right?
Absolutely.
When you say a half a ton of turkey, I think that's like bigger than the church. I mean, your mind, people have a hard time seeing what something actually looks like. You know, half a ton of turkey is a lot of turkey.
So it's a lot of turkey. Yeah, you know, and it takes a lot of people to pull that, and people that are willing to do the hard work.
Right. Yeah.
And you know, the beauty of it is, and I'm sure you know this from your time in ministry, is that we have fun doing it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it really is. It's a joy to do. You know, and then the dessert table, because every meal gets 2 desserts, because you know you got to have leftovers, and so when you're looking at 1,400 desserts.
Yeah, I was just thinking it's 1,400 desserts.
Yeah. So
that's like the New England Patriots chow hall. You get 1,400 desserts.
The night before Thanksgiving, I'm usually here all night getting all this stuff ready, and I look at that dessert table about 2 a.m. and I think I'm gonna have to steal a piece of pumpkin pie.
Well, hey, I hate to break, but I have to do this. But we're going to take a short break here, and we're going to come back, and we're actually going to do a walkthrough with Pastor Mike to see actually the hands and feet at work putting this together. So I'll see you when we come right back.
In Matthew 23, it says, "But he who is the greatest among you shall be your servant, and whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted." It takes a special person to be a servant. To humble yourself and be a servant is a gift and calling from God. Matthew 23:34 says, "Then the king will say to those on his right hand, 'Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me food. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me.' Then the righteous will say to him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you a drink? When did we see you a stranger and take you in, or naked and clothe you? Or when did we see you sick or in prison and come to you?' And the king will answer and say to them, 'Assuredly, I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you did it to me.' Then he will also say to those on the left-hand side, 'Depart from me, you cursed, into the everlasting fire prepared for the devil and his angels.'" I know we have experienced the blessings as well as the difficulties through our food outreach, his food ministry. We have been feeding families for over 20 years, and we can love and appreciate the work that God has called Pastor Mike to. So please keep him in prayer and support them if you can financially. Pastor Mike and his church are the hands and feet of Jesus. Their testimony shows the love of Christ through their desire to serve their community. It takes the Holy Spirit and a heart of Jesus to serve. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but it is true. Only a servant can truly serve. Jesus himself said, "The greatest among you must become a servant." I pray we all have the strength to follow his example.
Hey, well, welcome back to today's show, and now we're going to give you a first-hand experience on how you cook and what you do with a half a ton of turkey. So Pastor Mike's going to take us through, and we're going to give you that experience.
So today, the ladies today are working already on preparing the stuffing. You can imagine how much bread it takes to make stuffing for 700 people.
Those are actually stuffing balls. Those look like bowling balls to me. That's my kind of stuffing.
We don't serve any small portions.
Yeah.
And so they're hard at work on that. We'll freeze these and then bring them out on Thanksgiving Day. There are probably about 15 or 20 ladies here today, and one guy. Don't want to shortchange the
Can't forget the guys. Can't forget the guys, because the guys are eaters too.
Well, and this gets back to what we talked about upstairs. You know, that you can have all the ideas in the world, but if you don't have people that are willing to do the work, you know. And so they're hard at work in here. Now, in this area here on Thanksgiving Day, then we'll also have, in addition to everything that's going on here, this is where we'll do the corn, the sweet potatoes. We do over 400 pounds of corn.
Wow.
Over and about the same amount of sweet potatoes. And so all of that gets done in here. These counters that you're seeing here.
This is beautiful. Yeah.
It's a wonderful working area, and these guys are just amazing the way they dive in and get it done.
Yes.
The roasters will line. All of these counters will be covered with roasters, and then, like I said earlier, they'll be scattered everywhere. And so then we do that prep out here, and so the food prep is here. And then that's all right. And then from there, we wheel that on out to the distribution area.
Yeah, God had always, this is my pastor side of this, is when I was always studying scripture, I always used to ask the Lord, how is this going to look like when it manifests on the earth, you know? And you think about taking 20 people, listen to this, 20 people, and feeding 700, and another 20 some in volunteers or whatever. But how does that happen? This is how it happens. Down in the basement with a bunch of volunteers, women that are dedicated to get the job done. A thought is just a thought until you implement it. And this is the implementation. So I like to thank the pastor for bringing us into his church and these ladies for doing what they do. It's awesome.
And you know, on Thanksgiving Day, it's interesting. It's much quieter here when the ladies are here because they work hard. You know, when you add us guys in, it gets really loud.
We'll be talking.
I don't know that anything more gets done, but it's noisier. That's for sure.
These ladies are here, and I even heard one of them had like an electric thing to cut the bread to make the stuffing.
Oh yeah.
See, they're serious.
High tech, absolutely high tech. Yeah. So and it is easy to think, and we have to get past the mindset that something is too big for us.
Right. Yeah. That's good.
And so when the Lord gave us this idea and we started out and it started to grow and it became what it is.
Right.
To think that a church that on an average Sunday has 90 to 100 people can feed that many people.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. It's amazing to watch the Lord provide for it. It's amazing to watch them all do the work. Yeah.
And that's a word of encouragement, Pastor, for all the other churches out there.
Absolutely.
To think, hey, how can we feed 700 people?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of you people out there go to church that watch us, and a lot of you are pastors. So you may be thinking, how could we possibly feed 700 people in one day for Thanksgiving? This is just an example of how you do it.
And when we started this program, actually, the average attendance was closer to 60.
See? Yeah. So you almost doubled the church.
So, and it continues to grow.
Yeah.
And that's, there again, it's always, as we were talking earlier, it's always amazing to watch the Lord's blessing.
Right. Now, this area here is where you actually set up your.
Right.
How does that work? Let's go on.
Yep. So we will bring the food out there on these carts.
Yes.
And then we also have roasters lining these walls.
So the roasters will be over here on the back wall?
Yep, we'll have roasters all over the place. This is the pre-serve area. We have them plugged in and hot.
Okay.
And then one roaster comes here to serve from. When it's empty, it gets removed. This one comes up and another one takes its place.
Okay.
So we start here with the turkey, and everyone gets a pound of turkey. You know,
Wow,
so,
that's
yeah.
my kind of turkey.
So we start with the turkey, and then we move on to the stuffing here. And it's the small things that you don't think of. Mm-hmm. It's the gravy. How do you do gravy?
Right, for half a ton of turkey.
And then to provide it, we couldn't pour it on the food because it's going to get soggy or what have you on the way. So you've got all these little containers full of gravy, and someone has to fill all of those. Mm-hmm. And so there's a gravy station here where that's all they're doing is filling the gravy, and then it gets packaged. As you can see back here, we have all the containers.
Yeah, I saw that before, yeah.
And so each of the different food types had different containers. Mm-hmm. And so we have it all laid out so everyone knows what's going where. And so then from there you come down and you've got the corn.
Like how many pounds of corn you said?
Over 400. Yeah, it's a little bit of corn.
Yeah, a lot of roasters, right?
It is a lot of roasters. It is. We actually, we've thrown a few breakers over the years. Yeah, we keep beefing up the electric. And then we come here and we have this little table here because back in this area, there will be roasters. And so the boxes come to here and then the boxes actually angle across there so we don't slow the boxes down. Mm-hmm. Because once this gets going, it's, so last year, to give you an idea, we started delivering at 11 a.m. and we left here with our last meal at 2:30 in the afternoon.
3 hours.
Yeah, and that's
over 125 an hour, right?
Yeah, for those of us that are running the orders out to the cars, we're running the orders out. It's hard to keep up with these guys. They're really good at it. We get to here, and this is where the desserts are. This whole corner is full of desserts. We talked about the 1,400 desserts.
Right. Yeah, that's where they are.
Well, they're right here. And then usually we have more back there. And so that is the last thing that goes in. And we make sure to package those in a nice clear container so they can see the desserts right off the bat.
This is like where Dawn Reed always used to talk to us about. He'd say like the Nathans of the Bible. The ones behind the scene that after the funerals, they do all the cooking. For the Thanksgiving, they do all the prep and all that stuff. That's really what makes this work.
It is. It's
that they say about 10% of the church does the 90% of the work, see?
Well, and that's the folks that, it's interesting you mention that because I know a woman who hadn't attended church for years. Mm-hmm. Her husband passed away, and one of the local churches offered to make the meal for her after the service. That's what pulled her back to the church.
Yeah.
So it's a very important ministry.
Yeah, that's the importance of it. That's the hands and feet of Jesus that you were saying earlier. Right. That's what really makes a lot of ministries work. If people want to always talk about getting more people into their church. And you've said it a couple times already. Well, that's how they come to the church. That's how they come. And
we can have all the programs and plans that we want.
Right.
But there is nothing that's going to draw people to Christ like the love of Christ.
That's right. That's it.
So once they come to here now, everything's in a container, and then everything goes into its own box here, or as we come across here, and then it all gets taped up here, right down to the napkins on the top. So everything is packaged, ready to go, and then it heads up the stairs. I cannot tell you how many times we run up and down those stairs
on
Thanksgiving Day. Yeah, we get our exercise for sure.
Right.
But even, we have two people that their whole job on Thanksgiving Day is just sit here and tape boxes.
No kidding.
Yeah. Because you've got to keep up with that. And we have the boxes sorted by addresses, so that when we take them upstairs, Each person in the car, they get their box, has the name on the box with the address. They get a card that has the same number so that they make sure they've got the right thing for the right place. And we try to keep it to about 6 meals to a trip so that they get delivered hot. And so then up the stairs they go. And
Okay, so like the people that are watching our show, all right, how do they know, how far does your radius go? Like from where you are now, because
how much trouble do you want me to get in?
right, yeah, I know. Yeah.
So,
or where's the cutoff? You think?
Well, the folks at the church have told me I'm not allowed to cross state lines.
Right. Okay.
Because I mean, so we started out. It's like a Canning, Ford City area kind of thing, and then it kind of grew and grew. And so last year we went as far as Tarentum. We went to Butler. We went to East Brady.
Yeah.
We're not going to say no.
Okay, that's good.
If somebody needs a meal and they ask us, we'll find a way to get it to them.
So if somebody's really in need, your information will be on our screen.
Right.
They could call or text or whatever they need to do to get in touch with you. Leave a message if they don't get anybody.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And now, is there a cutoff? Like how close up until Thanksgiving are you allowed to take yours?
That's always a tough one.
Yeah, right.
Because I mean, last year we were getting calls up until 11 o'clock the night before.
See, yeah.
You know, so our concern, of course, is always, are we going to have enough?
Right.
So there is, right now, I'll say there's no cutoff. But if we get up to where we're at 700 meals, you know, we might have to slow it down a little because it's just a matter of how much food we have. But if we know in advance, we'll get more food.
Right.
We'll get more food.
So to simplify that, if you're watching the show and you need some help regarding a Thanksgiving dinner, the sooner the better.
Correct.
Call the number at the bottom of the screen and they'll see what they can do to help you and your family.
Well,
we don't want anybody to go hungry for Thanksgiving.
And I would also say, you know, that if you've ever thought of volunteering for something like this, to come out, you know, with GPS, anybody can deliver now.
Yeah, that's
you know,
right.
And we're always looking for delivery drivers to go out. And really, that's the coolest part of the job because you get to meet the people. So and we would be happy to have volunteers.
Right. And that's the biggest part of our ministry, just from our heart at Crossing Pass, is we want to help these ministries that reach their communities in so many different ways, and Thanksgiving is one of them, to be able to get out there and to serve somebody a hot cooked meal. And as we talked earlier, a lot of people don't even understand in the United States. We've been in the food ministry for 21 years, but there are a lot of people out there that are eating dry cereal out of a box without even milk because they're going hungry. And people don't understand that, but that's just the truth of it. So we want to be able to help you and your community any way that we possibly can. So I encourage you to make that phone call. Amen. So is there anything else, Mike, that we're missing down here as far as the...
No, I think, you know, that's pretty much the process. You know, probably the biggest challenge that I have is arranging everything into shipments.
Okay.
Because it all has to be staged, because on Thanksgiving Day we don't have time to go digging through.
All right.
You know,
well,
so
thanks for taking this journey with us, and I hope it really helps you out. And you guys have a blessed Thanksgiving, and always remember that we have a lot to be thankful for. The Bible says, "For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in Him would not perish, but have everlasting life." I love you guys. I'll see you next time in Jesus' name.